So first question, who are you?
My name is Leo Benoit.
And Leo, just so you know, I'm videotaping.
I used to be a professional carpenter. I was also a seafaring man. And at the age of 14, when I got kicked out of the house in 1936, I was 13 or 14 years old. And I didn't have very much. I had 50 cents in my pocket, I think, and I had my birth certificate wrapped up in some bread wrapping. Anyway, I got to New York, and I went to all these different seafaring unions, and they said, because you're a dirty white kid, you're considered dirty white trash. Get out of here, you little punk bastard, see? So I walked to Brooklyn, New York, and I went to the Nordic Seaman Center. This old man come up to me, he says, you want to go out to sea? I says, yeah. He says, you have a mother and father? I says, no. He says, you come. I was a cabin boy. I was on a Norwegian ship, 4-hole job. Those back then, they were all 4 holes. Cold weather. But the galley stove was wood. That was one of my jobs, to make sure I could fill the galley stove up, empty the trash, work with the cook, help him make bread, stuff like that, and all the things I can do in the kitchen. I sailed on that ship from 1936 to 1939, and we were heading to Oslo, Norway, and the German U-boat came up and signaled us, told us to get out on our lifeboats. Then they sank us. That's not the worst part. The worst part was the U-boat started to go by us, and I could see the machine gunner up there. Then the captain was on the next deck down, and I thought they were going to machine gun us. But the captain saluted us, and the U-boat went by. As it went by, there was a big white circle in the bow, and one of them said, "Where the swastika?" I said, "Boy, that's a pretty thing." I didn't even know we were at war. I was probably 15, 16, because I was 13 or 14 when I first went to sea. And anyway, after that, then I finally got away to get to the United States, and I took my birth certificate and scratched a few numbers on there. So now I could sail on the American Merchant Marines. So I sailed there, joined. Back then I sailed till I was 42, 43, and 44. No, I didn't sail at 44 because I got drafted January the 9th because of the new date on my birth certificate. Now I have legal documentation with my merchant seaman papers because I come under the Treasury Department. So, the next thing you know, okay, I got drafted. That would be January 8, 1944. And I was still in my monkey suit, my merchant seaman uniform, because I went through the draft station. They were giving me, I was already in the Army and I didn't even know it. They were giving me all kinds of shots. And then the 2 FBI men that picked me up brought me there. Oh, I forgot to say, before I got drafted, I just came back from the Merrimack Russia run with 420 cargo, 10,000 tons of high explosives each one of us. And so I had 30 days leave. Not less than 4, not over 30. But on the 36th day, I'm waiting to go back to the New York City, the National Maritime Union, which I was sailing back then. And that's when the FBI picked me up, and they brought me into induction. I was in the Army, and I didn't know. They sent me, the FBI men signed off, and 2 MPs picked me up, and we went to Fort Devens, Massachusetts. So I walk into the gate with my sea bag and my merchant service uniform, and everybody said, "Hey buddy, ain't you the wrong one?" I said, "You're goddamn right." I mean, I didn't know yet I was in the Army. Then I went down to Fort McClellan, Alabama, and I took an oath of allegiance to abide by all rules and regulations of the United States. And I finished my basic training. Went to Norfolk, Virginia by the train. I'm on the Queen Mary. 15,000 of us on the Queen Mary. It used to take me to go from New York to anywhere in Europe, 24 to 30 days, 35 days. It took me only 3 days to get to Plymouth, England. Now I'm in the Army now. So we wait, and then June the 4th of 1944, we were supposed to make the invasion. But what we did is, we went through the Bay of Biscay, and Eisenhower, Bradley, and General Patton. They were all 4-star generals. They canceled it off. But June the 6th, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm coming down the gangplank, come down the ladder, the rope ladder, and I weighed 135 pounds, I weighed 280 pounds about. I had a big BAR that weighed 20 pounds, I had 10 clips of ammo, 4 hand grenades, my helmet weighed 12 pounds, and I was a little baby boy, I didn't have hair under my armpits. So I got there, and the air power was so tremendous. There's never been so many airplanes in the sky all at once. Never. Shells landing all over, parachutes coming down, and then I got wounded there, and then I was laying in my foxhole, and the bomb that landed right about 5 feet. The concussion pushed me right up, and I got all that shrapnel in me, all over me. So the man comes up, they wipe my face, wipe my blood, they got a dirty old towel. And then they put sulfur powder on and bandaged me all up. Took more shrapnel than I could. I still got shrapnel here, And then I was able to get he gave me a shot of morphine. He says, "You go back to the line." That's the way it was back then. Oh yeah. Anyway, I went, after the invasion, everything, because of all the firepower, the air power that went over there, that knocked out a lot of big cannons, all the way to Paris, everything. So we stayed there for a couple of days, then we got to Paris, and we were there with the liberation of France. So we sat there at the Arc de Triomphe. We waited 2 weeks in bivouac. We're waiting for General, he was the French general. He was in charge of all of the French, but he fought the war in England. See? So they brought him back in, so we waited at the Arc de Triomphe for him and the General Leclerc of the 2nd French Army Division. And then we were turned loose after we went to the Arc de Triomphe. and I went out there. All these people, the girls that associated, collaborated with the Nazis, there was 18 or 12, they were all, their heads were all shaved. Then they painted the swastika on it. Well, they had to make a living, but then after that, we were up in the Hedgegrove country. After you get out of Paris, then we got into the Hedgegrove country. It was the battle zone. It was on ledges. You had to go 30, 40, 50. That's where the farmer had his hay fields and his alfalfa or whatever it was. There was one place where they had dropped bombs in World War I. The Frenchmen's too lazy. They didn't fill it up, so you just plow right around it. Anyway, we went through there, and then we got to the Hedgegrove country in Paris, above Paris, about 50 miles above Paris. And then I worked my sergeant that morning, and we're looking for the Nazis. They were hiding under brush, a little foxhole. Anyway, I seen some movement in there, so I knew then there was a German soldier. So I signaled my captain, my sergeant rather, I signaled him, and as I'm pointing hands to him, he shoots me right through the head. I got still a scar right there. And I had a big BAR, which had 20 rounds of ammo, and I just opened it up and because my hand hurt, but I just had that one part. And when I took him out of the brush, he was a boy. I don't think he was 20. He was what they called the Duchess Karug, the Hitler Youth. So we went through all of France. Then when we got to Germany, it was bombed so hard and so heavy. But we did have a lot of fighting going on, and so we were able to put it down. And then we went out, and then the war ended. And he threw me in the 1st Infantry Division, because I was with the 3rd Armored Division, which was George Patton's outfit. Well, George was a 4-star general now, but his son was a 2-star general, so I served under George. He's just like the old man, the same voice, the same ugly looking, but he ran us in. He went to the 3rd Armored Division. And so we liberated all these concentration camps, and we were told not to go to this one here in the Russian territory. It was in the Russian zone. And I didn't know why, but after we found out later. Anyway, I had his name, and I can't remember it, but he was Adolf Hitler, space scientist. He's the one that created his rockets, from the V1 to the V2, which was it could go right out of their route and go right into England and drop there about 10,000 tons, 10,000 pounds. And so we were able to get him and his 100 scientists out of that concentration camp. We got him into America and Birmingham. They're the one that designed all our newspapers. But Joe Stalin was pretty bad. Oh, he was cursed and he was doing everything. But we got there before he got there. And so we had those scientists. And then they threw me in the 1st Infantry Division, and I ended up in the Justice of Palace in Nuremberg. I was one of the guards at the War Crime Tribunal, where all the rest went through it. Hermann Goering committed suicide that night. I got pictures of him. I got a picture of him that night with 2 of our soldiers on each side of him. That's when he was condemned to death. He beat the hangman. He had a capsule, that little capsule. It's a little vial about maybe a 1/4 inch wide by maybe 3/4 inches glass. You chew the glass, you swallow. You go through convulsions for about a half a minute, you're dead. So we went through the trial. As we were going through the trial, the bitch of Buchenwald, as the coach, her husband was the camp commander of the Buchenwald concentration camp. We went through every one of them. We liberated every one of them. Okay, she was the camp commander's wife. Now, this is what she did, her husband. They seen guys with tattoos on, she'd make love to them, then kill them, took the skin off, made lampshades. Oh yeah, the lampshades were sitting on Justice Jackson's desk. Not only that, she shrunk heads better than the South American head shrinkers. Oh, well, they were beautiful. So right after that, I was already over 4 years, a couple of months they sent me home. But I'm pretty sure they executed, but they brought it to Jerusalem. Just like they did the camp commander that was in the, not the book, but the one in Poland, Auschwitz concentration camp. They also brought him he was in South America somewhere, Argentina. When they got him out of the country, they brought him to Israel. They stood trial in a glass cage. He got hung. And he was the one that people would go down into the in the showers when they gave him a towel and soap. But instead of water coming out of it, there was gas. And it killed all the people. So, and he used to go up there and wash it and then jerk off because he was getting such a kick out of it, see. These people were the most meanest, ugliest sons of bitches on this earth. Anyway, okay, then they sent me home. Then I went back out to sea for the next 15 years. And then when I came out from the seas, I became a union carpenter, and I worked there till I was 76 years old as a carpenter. So now, once you get the 50-year pins, you can't work as a carpenter anymore. So what I did is I put an ad in the paper, professional carpenter, $20 an hour. I got more tax. In other words, it had to be checks and cash, no checks. And I worked for Harry Magson. I don't know if you ever know who he was. Okay. I worked for Harry almost 15, 18 years. First, when he hired me, he says, I'm going to give you a treat. He took me to breakfast at Hagedorn's restaurant there. Him and Hagedorn were good friends. But he couldn't join Hagedorn because he was owned all the banks, and I know, so he's getting money from the unions. So but anyways, I worked with him for almost 20 years. And his money was strictly cash. And he said to me one day, Leo, what do you want cash? I says, Harry. I says, you're a banker. I says, do you like checks? He says, no. And he laughed. He knew what I was saying too. But we got along good. Then when I got done all his work over here in Coeur d'Alene and Lake Coeur d'Alene, he asked me, I want you to come to my house in Wallace. I want you to remodel that. And I says, Harry, I got a 14-year-old boy. I got to make sure he goes to school. I says, I sure would like to do it, but I says, if I'm not there, he's not going to go to school. Well, it didn't do any good anyway. He was dumb anyway, because he didn't want to go to school. He didn't want to learn. And when he finally got smart, he paid someone to get his GED. And it's a phony thing. They gave him a diploma. Anyway, he went back into the building trade, because I started him in the church. And then he was working with a big company in the United States. Yeah, I know. Oh, he lives in Washington now, Spokane, and he works with it, and he made, he was getting, he was making $400 and $500 every time they make an inspection, because what they do, he'd inspect all these houses that these people wanted to examine, the type of construction is, how safe it is it a good price? So, I think this is about all I can think about. Do I have it? Did I get it pretty good, lady?
You should tell about your little, when you were arrested as a spy.
Who?
You should tell her about when you were arrested as a spy. When you were a spy.
When you were arrested as a spy. Didn't mean to startle you.
I was, first, I was sailing on a merchant vessel, and I was down in Cebu City, the Philippines, after we got out of Manila, and I met this nice woman, and I jumped ship. I took my, and so, I was living, have you ever heard of the Hawk guerrillas? They were Philippine guerrillas that wanted to overthrow Ferdinando.
Okay.
Okay? They were the Hucks, the HUK. So I joined up with them, but I didn't join up under the Huck guerrillas. I just joined to be part of the stealing, going in town, shooting the gun in the air, and stealing what whiskey we could. For me, anyway, because these are Muslims, they don't drink. The Huck guerrillas are kind of a Muslim organization. So, I'd give you a couple of nice girls who live with a bamboo hut. It's thick as 5 or 6 feet off the ground on 4 legs. And they had a hole in the floor there to raise the try. That's how you partied, see. And then bananas out there and everything. And so, I did that for almost 8-9 months. The United States Navy found out I was up there, so they thought I was an espionage agent, which I wasn't. I was just having a hell of a good time. I had to go to a war crime tribunal. I was a 5, 6, 7 big admirals with brass all over, and they all condemned me and that's for espionage. That's the death sentence. So before they got me there, they brought me down off that mountain. I was in chains. I had a chain in the front, a chain in the back, and I had 2 guys there, and a couple of guys with a couple of machine guns. And the guerrilla movement, they didn't want any part of it, so we didn't have no firepower. They let the Navy take me out. So in the meantime, now I get thrown in California at one of the naval prisons right there. Because you see, I'm being charged for espionage, which is a war crime crime. And so, 3 or 4 days later, what they already condemned me for espionage. I was supposed to get the death sentence or free, I don't know. Anyway, I didn't get it, but they let me go. I couldn't sail for the next 6 months.
They took you
Then
to
I got
court.
my seaman papers.
They took you to court.
Now it's that D1. In other words, they have to make a duplicate D1, meaning this is a duplicate, because they took my seafaring papers away. Because I stayed as a boatswain, carpenter, able-bodied seaman, and my last 3-4 shift was a ship captain, the best job on the ship. And I was asked to go to U.S. Naval Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point, New York, to become an officer. I said no, Because you see, when you become an officer on a merchant vessel, you die with it. You can't change around. You go from third officer to second officer to chief officer, then up to captain. Anyways, I'm going to let you go.
No.
Well, I thought maybe.
I was just seeing what it was. It lit up.
I didn't know I was causing so much trouble, but
Yeah.
I was not educated. I got the education. The only reason I got educated, because I knew so much now of all the world and how people take and feel and thought. I was a very educated man. But I didn't know. I thought it was a plain duckcoat. Heard her. Suddenly I said, boy, he said, you're the smartest man I've ever heard. I said, oh, you're bullshitting me.
What
No,
I
said,
think
"You
is
are."
funny is they in chains and as a spy, they took him to court.
I didn't know I
And
was
when
that.
all those big shots hurt him, they realized he was just having a hell of a good time.
And that's why they let him go?
Yeah.
Just the
Oh, yeah,
6
but
months?
They realized
I've
as soon
been
as he
all over
started
the world.
talking that.
It was just a kid having a wild time in the jungle. So, you started your story when you were 14? Tell me about
Well,
before
that's when
that.
I got kicked out of the house. Back then, if they couldn't feed you, they couldn't clothe you. The girls were married at 13.
Tell me about, and we want to look this way at the camera, but
Huh?
tell me about your childhood. Tell me about your siblings. Your siblings. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
Yes, he was the abused child.
Was he?
I thought I had, wait a minute, yeah, I had a daughter.
No, your brothers and sisters. Your brother that.
Oh, he's not a wealthy, he wasn't the healthy kid. Back then, we used to live, we had outhouses in the back.
Uh-huh.
And my kid brother, which was 5 years older than me, but he was small, fell and went through the toilet bowl. He was in there for 4, 5, 6
An
hours.
outdoor toilet.
Oh no, like an outhouse.
When they pulled him out, they washed his stuff up. And after he healed, because the acid of that poop is so strong, it burnt his skin so bad he looked like a frog. His skin looked like a frog. And I left Connecticut. I never looked back, so I don't know what happened after that.
What about, how'd you meet your wife?
Oh, I was playing the piano in the cat house and she came over.
No.
Wait a minute. I did that.
Can you play the
I
piano?
played the piano in the cat house in Galveston, Texas, and I would belong to the madame. And the madame said, if I ever find out you're going out with any one of them bitches, you're going. I said, sweetheart, you got this guy. Because see, I was waiting for a ship. And when you're in Galveston, Texas, baby, a ship comes in once a month, or maybe no. And so they don't always take a bunch of crews. They lay out, they couple 3 or 4 guys might want to get out. So then the union hall would call us up. But yeah, I liked it. I played the piano in the cat house till I was ready to go back out to sea. And then, I worked for Sam Maceo. He was the town mobster. He run the gambling casino. He was the boss of the mobsters in Galveston. And I had free, you knock at the door and the guy looked at from a part of peephole and he opened the door and you get in. That's the only way. Anyway, this guy, this Mexican, big Mexican, 450 pounds, he gets friendly with me because he knew I was with Maceo. And so I blabbed off my mouth and he says, when I get there tomorrow night, I don't be there. I said, why? Just don't be there. Well, Sam Maceo didn't know, but they shut his casino down and they threw him in jail. And then I knew I had a death sentence on me. And I got out of Galveston and I never went back again. But had I stayed there, I would have been. So I was kind of a dummy. I did all kinds of stupid things. But I was a very good carpenter. I could build anything. I built spiral staircases, which takes a long, long time. All the way like that. And then I built many houses by myself. The only time I needed help was when I was putting the rafters in. I cut my own rafters. Today it's all trusses. Everything's manufactured. They don't do that, but they're there. But I did all the trusses, I did all the roofs, everything. I put all the windows in, put all the doors. In the old-fashioned days, I put the jamb in first, then I'd screw the hinges on, had to mortise it out, and then I'd take that, I had a brace of bricks, and I had to drill those holes now they use a jig. Just drilled. But I built everything.
Hey, tell her how your dad toughened you up.
Huh?
Tell her how your dad toughened you up when you were growing up. When you were growing up. Maybe you can get it to
Too
him.
far away.
She said, tell me how your dad toughened you up.
Who?
Your father. How did he make you
my father,
tough?
he didn't help me out nothing. He hated me. He sure was and he used to beat the living hell out of me. Oh, I think he got a big kick out of it. And back then we used to have, he would out bought one of the 25-cent washing machines, and you put the stuff in, water and soap, and then you had a handle here, and you pulled on the back and forth. That's what turned. And when you first get started, this so good. And I was a little baby boy. I didn't think I weighed 70 pounds. And he's standing there with a whip, bang, bang. He gave me a 16-pound hammer. I couldn't even pick it up. After a couple of months, I was able to pick that 60. I only weighed 50, 60 pounds. I was a little baby, because back then I had rickets. Everybody had rickets back then. Everyone. And then what happened when I got the chance, I had a new knee put in, and they corrected my rickets, and I didn't have this. Everybody would bowl. You're bow-legged, because you don't eat the right foods and the right vitamins and stuff. So I had rickets, and my life was really tough.